We'd like to welcome everyone to episode 6, I believe it is, of All About Printmaking with Phil and Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Phil.
Are you, you worked all day today, as opposed to me? I didn't do much work today.
That's right. And I think I worked in my sleep all night last night because I was really tired when I woke up.
Well, we have a special episode today. Instead of our usual banter.
You mean they're tired of listening to us?
Not tired, but I'm tired of doing it that way. But we have a special guest, a call-in guest today.
Okay.
Can you introduce her for us?
Absolutely. I would be thrilled. Today we have a special caller coming in to us today, and we would like to introduce Miss Juliee Beyt to our listeners. Hello, Julie.
Hey there. How are y'all? Thanks for having me.
Well, we're quite pleased to have you, tell you the truth. Can you just tell us a few things about yourself?
Sure. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm from Austin, Texas, and I've been back and forth between Texas and California, and I'm an architect by profession and a printmaker by choice. And I first began doing printmaking in college. As an architecture student, you take a lot of art classes. You take painting and drawing and any number of electives. And one of the classes I took was called The History of the Handmade Book. And it was a very erudite little group of people up in the bowels of the Library Sciences building with an original press, the press that was used, similar to the one that was used for the Gutenberg Bible. And we had a little old man teaching us how to set type and use the ink, what's it called, the inkstone, and make a little book. And we made a little handmade book. And that was sort of the introduction to me to printmaking. And then there was a very long pause while I finished college and had a career and had children, and kind of came full circle to my children both being artistic and being in fine arts programs, fine arts academies.
Your little story about your college experience reminds me of when I was in college, and Amy and I talked about this earlier on an episode where one of the professors was his main thrust in printmaking was linoleum cutting and letterpress. And
awesome.
He did the most wonderful looking letterpress prints, and he had that letterpress in his studio. We were just amazed by it.
So. I would love to have a letterpress. That is something I'm definitely lacking, but there's only so much room in my little architectural office come guest room come printmaking studio, and I don't think a letterpress is going to fit in here. But I kind of got reintroduced to it when my children were in printmaking in high school, and they had a really fantastic teacher.
Good, yeah.
And they were just doing really fun things, and I started to kind of be re-excited about it. My son started a little high school business, printmaking T-shirts that he sold to make a trip to Peru. He needed to raise the money himself. We told him if he wanted to go, that was fine, but wow. He had to pay for it. And so he spent the summer, and I helped him a lot, printing, his designs onto T-shirts and selling them. And that kind of got me rolling. And then as my daughter went through the Fine Arts Academy, it would be midnight the night before a deadline, and she's trying to cut like crazy and print like crazy. And I was backup, backup helper, doing an all-nighter in the kitchen with her and on the floor. And then came COVID, and, suddenly we had a lot of time on our hands, and I started playing around with it. And so I'm basically self-taught, but I'm a big researcher. And so I've been researching in every way that you do, watching videos, and I've got to where I really enjoy it, and I'm trying to make a go of it. And I mainly do lino cuts, although I do silk screening as well. And sometimes I combine them. I'll do a lino cut, and maybe after some time my block degrades or it gets hard to print, and then I'll go ahead and convert that image to a silk screen, and then I can print it with a silk screen. And I've even got a few designs where I print part of it with a silk screen, and then I come back and overlay Linocut on top of that.
Yeah. When you were talking about your son sponsoring or paying for his trip to Peru with the T-shirts, on one of my long-distance motorcycle trips, one time I was in Pytown, New Mexico, and there's a little place right down the place from the place where I camped, and it was called the Toaster House, and it was a house that was dedicated to people walking, hiking, and bicycling across the country and down the Continental Divide Trail that was there. And I met this kid. He was like 20 something, and he was on his bicycle, and he had ridden his bike from from Savannah, Georgia to San Diego. This was his second trip.
Wow.
And we were talking. He told me he paid for it doing prints, T-shirts. So that reminded me of him.
Yeah, it's not the first time somebody did that, I imagine.
Right.
It's if you've got that creative desire to create, and everybody likes the T-shirts, right? So
yeah,
it's fun to do.
Well, I was looking at your Instagram a couple of days ago, and I came across this project that you're working on with a quilt maker.
Yes.
It was was it poppy flower images or something?
Yes. There were some poppies and some horses, and there's a third block that I'm doing, which is one of my favorites, but it's bigger. The poppy and the horse are the 3x3 blocks, because I really got into patch making this summer, and I designed and carved a bunch of blocks expressly to be used as patches that could be printed on, mostly linen, some linen and cotton, and to be sewn onto things, pockets and hats and purses and bags. And my friend Catherine in California is a quilter, and she's been really wanting to do something with me. We collaborate, and so I'm printing up all the blocks. In fact, I just put them in the mail today to California, and she's going to quilt them into quilts, and she's actually designed a pattern that she hopes that we can kind of take it to the next step. And then
I like that. I like that idea of the collaboration of the two mediums. Yeah.
Well, I've been really enjoying collaboration this year. I collaborated with this incredible stitch artist in Japan named Lindsay Ann, and she's a 8th grade teacher in Japan, and she does these super articulated hand stitched pieces of art using sound and archival, like old sailors' flags, Japanese sailors' flags, or a coat that she's somehow, I don't know where she's finding these in thrift stores or markets, but these beautiful textiles. And I sent a bunch of patches and her color schemes, and she's been working them into her art, and I just really get a kick out of that, because you learn a lot. You learn a lot when you collaborate with somebody who's in a slightly different medium, because they're telling you, oh, well, for this kind of thing, thicker fabric is better, or thinner fabric is better, or you need wider margins around your design. And it's just been really fun to do some collaborations. Well, I highly recommend it.
Where do you get most of your inspiration, your reference from for your images that you do?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes I'm not inspired at all, and I'm feeling like I've got a lull in my schedule, and I want to create something, and I can't think of what to create, and then I feel like it's kind of the tail wagging the dog a bit those times. Like, well, I'm just coming up with something to keep myself busy, and I've a few times done something and then just put that block away and never printed it. Like, it just didn't inspire me enough, but at least it got the juices flowing. And while I was working on that, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I really wanted to do a few things for this upcoming holiday, whatever that may be, Halloween, or in this case, it's Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And so
we're getting close to that.
Yeah. And that one thing I have learned, as somebody who's trying to sell my artwork, in the little forums that I have, you really have to plan your project. And, as a printmaker, you'll understand, right? It's not just go carve a block. It's what is this block going to be for? Is it going to be for a piece of paper that's a print hanging on a wall, or is it going to be a banner or a pennant or a pillow or a T-shirt, and whatever
the final destination of where it's going to, what it's going
yeah,
to be used for.
You have to know that, because that drives the design, right? It's what material are you carving on? Are you carving on? Is this print on paper? Well, that's going to be battleship gray linoleum. Is this a T-shirt or a bag? Well, that's probably going to be speedball speed carve, because I find it easier to print on textiles. And if it's going to be a print on paper on linoleum, it can be much greater detail. If it's going to be speed carve or something like that, it's going to be a lower detail. And so there's, how big does it need to be? What's the medium you're carving on? What's the medium you're placing it on? What's the detail level you can get? And so all those come into play. And sometimes I thought, oh, I want to do a blank, whatever, a bat, and I want it to be super articulated. Wait, but I want to put it on a T-shirt. So now that for me necessarily means it's probably going to be not very articulated, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of go back and forth. And as far as inspiration goes, it's maybe, what do I want? Well, I really enjoy, if you looked at my Instagram, you've probably seen, I really like making table runners, because I like having, graphic things in my home. I like having that touch of, the care and the consideration of a handmade thing. And so I think a table is a really wonderful place to kind of, to have design, right? Because, by the time you're in your 50s, most of your walls are full. The prints on paper, it doesn't work anymore for me. My walls are full. And so I look to other places to put those designs. And so if it's a table runner, go ahead.
That kind of segues into another thought I just had. What size limitation? Do you have size limitations, or what size do you prefer to work in on the linoleum cuts?
I don't have size limitations anymore as of this week, because I have gifted myself with a cold press laminator for my birthday. And so I did have size limitations, and I have the little teeny blocks, the little 3x3 to 4x6. Those I'm typically printing on either by hand with a hand burnisher, or I have a panini press that is really remarkably great for small prints. And for medium-sized prints, I'll use the Woodzilla press, which I really like. But I had several blocks that were really large, but they were linoleum. I printed a mistletoe table runner for myself last Christmas, and I wanted to do some more this Christmas, but it's a large piece of linoleum. And I found that linoleum really prints better through the rollers, as opposed to the force press, it just prints a little better. And so I've got this cold press laminator, and I've just started experimenting with it and printing my larger linoleum mistletoe block on textiles. And so far, so good.
Do you ever work on wood, like cutting boards or flat pieces of wood that can be bought?
I haven't. That's a really good question, but I've really been interested in it because I've seen so many other printmakers who do these really large scale wood prints.
Right.
And the detail they can get in the wood is really fantastic. I don't really know if I'm a good enough illustrator, like if my if my designs are worthy, of this large scale piece of wood.
Well, from what I've seen, I was looking at your, what was it? Was it an owl or an animal?
Oh, the cat, my Halloween cat.
Oh, it was a cat with it looked like a bright shape behind it. It was a cat.
Yes. That's my Halloween cat. She's sitting there with a fiery, spicy stew or
just like a
cauldron
cat
of some sort of thing. Yes.
Do you ever get ink on your cat?
Yeah, my cat personally is often working with me in the print studio. She likes to be where I am, and if I'm busy, she's she's overlooking and overseeing. And she's actually tries very hard to lay down on things that I have drawing.
No, not a
So
cat. They would
come up,
never do
I know,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Your definition of what you're working on is so broad, but yet so unique at the same time. So it's pretty fascinating to me. It's not that feels not fascinating, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well,
Amy is not a printmaker. Amy is not an artist. She's here helping me do this, and she's learning along the way here with everybody that's listening. So.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, I think that everybody has this fun desire to create. And what I like about printmaking especially is it's open to all levels of skill and creativity. And I've had real fun teaching some workshops, and I had a wide range of people taking that who have art backgrounds or do not. And I've been pretty impressed with everything everybody does. So I bet you'd be pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's just finding the time to do it. I think I have so much other stuff going on. And usually I just sit down and say, I'm just not going to do any of it at this point.
I'm done. Yeah.
Julie, why do you think people gravitate toward printmaking rather than painting or sculpture or whatever? Do you think
That's a really great question. What is the answer to that question? I don't know. I mean, I know that I like the idea of making things that are functional, and I kind of categorize a lot of my creations as functional art because it's something that you can wear or you can carry or you can that lives with you. And for me, printmaking really lends itself to that. Not just because you can make more than one.
Right.
A good friend of mine is an artist, and she is incredible. I mean, her name is Valerie Fowler. If you're ever in Austin, swing by her studio. It is absolutely amazing, and she is the most incredible painter. I think she was one of the people that inspired me, even though I'm not an artist person. She inspired me to sit down and create. It makes you feel good to do it. It's very therapeutic, and her things are highly. She obviously has a gift with the paintbrush and the paint, and I don't have that gift. So it's very easy for me to say, well, I'm not going to be a painter. I did take painting in college, and I don't have the gift, and so I think you learn that about yourself. What things are you better at?
Through college and throughout most of my life after college, I was majored in printmaking really, but then I didn't have the equipment or anything, so I got sidetracked, and I was a painter, illustrator, pencils for years and years. But I think, for me anyway, I love the process-oriented aspect of printmaking. I love being able to work on it, and you do all these processes, and then finally you pull your first print, and voila, you see your image,
Yeah, I like that too. You're right. It's very satisfying, right? Even if it's a mess, right?
Right.
Even if,
it's your mess.
Yeah, because you can keep messing with it. That's definitely something I'm learning, right? Is you can decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sadly, we're out of time.
Wow.
It just goes by so quickly.
It sure does, and I really did enjoy talking with y'all. I'm humbled, to have anybody take interest in this little side project of mine that I've been doing, and but I appreciate getting to talk to y'all, and I can't wait to hear the rest of your series.
All right.
Well, we certainly appreciate you coming to join us, and we'll have this.
You've inspired me, Julie. I appreciate that.
You get to it, Amy, and if you're ever down in my neck of the woods, come on by, and we'll have a little fun.
All right, sounds like we'll throw some paint on the cat or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, thanks, Julie. We'll let you go.
All right. Bye-bye now. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wowzers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was fun.
It was.
And the time went by even faster than normal. I think it's when you start talking to somebody like that, it's very informative and it's interesting to me.
Absolutely.
So we're glad we could have Julie, and we hope to have others join us occasionally.
Absolutely.
So, Amy, it's the end of another episode of All About Printmaking with Phil and Amy.
That's right.
And we'll just say our goodbyes here.
Goodbye, Phil.
Until next time.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.